Welcome back to Juice Ready. This is episode 9. It's BT's third time back. How are you, BT?
Hey Dan, always good to be back.
Always good to be back. And we've got Toby with us today. Toby, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you very much. And BT and I were talking about football just now. I believe both of you are mad football fanatics.
We are. I mean, my when I bleed, it comes out red. So obviously, like human beings, I'm a Liverpool fan. Sometimes people pretend they're something else. BT is an Arsenal fan, he says. But I know that when he switches the TV on, he's thinking about Bobby, Mo, and Sadio.
So I just keep quiet and say my blood's also red, but it's from higher up north.
Are we talking?
United.
Okay. No, man. If you say North, I'm going to start thinking of red Scottish teams.
No,
not that far. Well, thank you. So I was going to say thank you for joining us today, Toby, and maybe for the listeners, just give us a bit of background, who you are and what you do.
Yes, I'm currently the Chief Executive Officer of the High Performance Centre at the University of Pretoria. And for my sins, I'm also the Director of all sport at the university. So that's from recreational sport right through to elite Olympic level sport. So it's quite a big portfolio.
Amazing.
Wow.
So yeah, BT was telling me earlier that the University of Pretoria turned 100. Was that the?
Oh, long ago.
Was that the BC? Am I just getting my facts completely mixed up here? Was that the High Performance Centre or what?
So I'm not sure. I was hoping Toby can let us know more about that, about the history of, because when I was looking, when I was just hearing, people were telling me that TUKS itself as an institution has been around for over 100 years. So, and then obviously TUKS is known for its high performance center. So I wanted to get straight from the horse's mouth in terms of exactly where did it start and how do we get here?
Yeah, so TUKS is well over 100 years old. Our cricket club was 100 last year, so was our hockey club. And believe it or believe it not, the oldest club at the university is the TUKS Football Club. Football was started before rugby at the university. And do you know what TUKS stands for? Transvaal University Colleges. And that was started over 110 years ago. And that's basically how it started. But getting back to the High Performance Centre, we opened our doors in March 2002 as a commercial venture to try and develop future Springbok rugby players in those days. And it got to a stage where we saw that there was a demand to go a little bit bigger. And we then changed tact and became an international venue of choice for a number of athletes that wanted to come and train in South Africa, simply because of the unbelievable weather we have throughout the year, the security on the campus, the facilities at the university, and being so close to the bush for downtime and stuff as well too. So it became a venue of choice for them.
Okay.
Sorry, Daniel.
Well, I'll let you finish first. Sorry.
No, so I think from there is really where it all began, and then we started to, we started off with a motto called a gold medal lifestyle, the High Performance Centre. I was then the marketing manager, and when I took over as CEO 2 years later, so that's 2004, I questioned what gave us the right to call ourselves a gold medal lifestyle when we hadn't yet delivered a gold, silver, or bronze medal at an Olympic, Commonwealth, or international game of any sort. And that's really when we started to do some introspection. And we can talk about what happened from there. We can go into, you guys can throw some questions, but I can give you some more information of what we did and how we changed things to where we are today.
Does that include, sorry, BT, just cut me off at any time if I'm asking too many questions, but does that include gold medals at like sort of a World Cup?
Yes, exactly right. So it's World Cup, Commonwealth Games, Olympic Games, the whole tutti.
And just to go a little step back, so when you I mean, with the high performance center, you said you wanted to, you guys made it a bigger international venue. What type of teams, what type of countries teams, was it just countries from all over? And what sports were they coming down for to train?
Oh, we started originally with athletics,
Okay.
and swimming were the two major ones we started with. And then we also became the home for preparation for Finland, believe it or believe it not, for the Olympic Games in 2006.
Oh, wow.
The entire Finnish team came out. The entire Finnish Olympic team came out here and spent over 3 weeks preparing with us for the Olympic Games in 2006.
Amazing.
And then I also believe that in 2010, you guys also hosted a special group of people. Can you tell us more about that?
BT, that was the most amazing experience of my life, I can assure you. Yeah, we were the host to Argentina for the World Cup. We actually, funny enough, we were approached by 5 different countries, but we had a very, very special bond and a relationship with Argentina through their embassy and the ambassador to South Africa, Carlos Sasali. And him and I became almost housemates. And we reinvented, and I mean reinvented, the high performance center to fit the needs of the Argentinian football team, who, as you know, at that stage were coached by Maradona.
Yes.
And had the likes of 1 or 2 decent players like
Lionel Messi. Yeah.
He's not too bad.
Did you get to meet Lionel?
Yes, I did. Got to meet all of them and spoke to them all, because they were with us for a long, long, long period. They came out, they were one of the first sides to come to South Africa to prepare for the World Cup. So they were out preparing for a long, long time before the World Cup started. So we got to interact on a daily basis with them. And being the CEO, I was responsible for their safety, for their well-being. And we would have daily meetings with their manager, with their security manager, with the coach, with the physio, with the doctor. I mean, it was just truly amazing for me. It was an eye-opener for me to see exactly what professional football at that level is all about. Yeah. I've never seen men in positions like I saw them in positions in the gym. And if you go back and look at that World Cup, you'll see that they didn't have a single serious injury of a muscular ligament, anything like that at all, purely because of the guy that they had believed in stretching to prevent. So it was more prevention than looking afterwards and trying to sort the problem out.
Okay.
So prevention instead of rehabilitation was his motto.
Yeah, that's a good motto. I mean, just when I woke up this morning, I pulled something in my neck for no apparent reason, and I can feel it's going to hurt for 3 days. I want to come back to the performance center, but just quickly for the listeners, can you tell us about your background quickly? The TuksSport.
Yeah, I was educated in Port Elizabeth at a school called Grey High School.
Okay.
And finished my matric, and now you can do your mathematics, BTO, in 1976. So in other words, I am an Otopi. I'm a medalla. But my background was very much in hockey. And I was one of the youngest guys to get his national colors for umpiring in hockey in the country. And then I moved over into the coaching realm, and I wrote the book, or a manual on how to coach children way back in 1981. And then got involved in coaching at provincial level, coached Eastern Province, coached them in indoor, got involved in coaching the South African Technicons, which is now, in those days they were called Technicons. Now they like Tshwane University of Technology was the old Technicon. Yeah. So I was involved in coaching them at a national level, and then went back to umpiring again and became the national umpiring coordinator for South Africa for about 15 years and trained all the umpires in this country to become top-class umpires. And one of my proteges, a guy called John Wright, ended up umpiring the finals at the Olympic Games, not only once, but also at the World Championships, World Cups. So that was my background from a hockey perspective. And then I also thoroughly enjoyed cricket and got involved in doing Afrikaans cricket commentating from Port Elizabeth, from St. George's Park.
Okay. When was your last gig?
Oh, no, long time ago.
Okay, so I haven't heard you.
No. I don't think you weren't even a twinkle in your dad's eye at that stage.
Yeah, I mean, we try and this is rugby though. We always try and imitate. I forget his name now, but the most famous rugby commentator.
Speakerish.
He's English, yes, but we also do the Afrikaans versions.
Charles Fortune or Trevor Quirk.
His name slips me now.
Okay.
Anyway, so then you were interested in cricket as well. And when does football come in? I know BT is he's waiting to ask you a few football questions.
Yeah, with pleasure. So football really came in is when I moved to TUKS and I took on the development, the focused development to get TUKS into the PSL. And we started on a development plan, and I think that's really what it's all about. You know, so I came up with a saying, not a saying, I didn't come up with it. It was John Mayer that said that I'm the architect of days that haven't happened yet.
Wow.
And that's really where I started, because for me, I wanted to become the architect that could start something and develop it into something that would become in the future a haven for youngsters to prepare themselves, not only for football, but for all sports to be able to perform at the highest level. And what I also wanted to do is I wanted to be the person that could plant that seed that you or BT could sit under the tree in the shade of the success that I planted.
Right.
And carry on with that success. And I think that is what I really started in 2004 when I took over as CEO. And I questioned the guys. And I said, so why are we following the Australian model? Why are we following a New Zealand model? Why are we following the English, the Americans? We are African. Show me one athlete standing on the podium anywhere in the world that has grown up with a diet of pap and marog. If you can show me that athlete, I will withdraw what I want to do. But we need to find an African solution for an African problem.
Yeah.
And that's when I started questioning my sports scientists, my doctors, my psychiatrists, psychologists, nutritionists, everybody, on how do we need to change to accept. Because even today, I'm bringing kids into the football academy, into an athletics academy, that are still living with the apartheid, the bad parts of apartheid, where they come from rural areas where there's no water, there's no electricity,
the legacy.
And they grow up on pap and marog.
Yeah. So is it a mentality thing that you instill in young children? Is it it's diet and everything, or is it just a mindset? How does it work?
It's a culture. It's a culture.
Yeah.
Now you see, sitting behind me is the TuksSport logo.
Yeah.
And those stripes. Now, if you go and look on our website, you'll see hashtag stripe generation, hashtag elevate to greatness. Now, those were planned things to try and instill in people that within what you're seeing there behind me are the values, the core values of a brand that has established itself as one of the top brands of sport in Africa. And we actively went out to pursue that, and we had to make sure that our passion that we had to prepare our athletes had to be equal or greater than the potential that they had to perform. So we had to have that passion. So everybody had to buy into the passion before we could create that culture. And I think that's where we started.
Okay. And then just quickly from my side, Toby, when you look at from when that 2004, when you started with that new ethos, what sort of, I wouldn't say achievements, but what sort of results has that yielded? Success factors that has it yielded?
So BT, I think the biggest success for me was, and I will be eternally grateful, is that I was brought, and I suppose, luck does play a hand, But I was approached by a guy called Rod McKinnon, who was then the president of South African Rowing. And he came to me and he said to me, Toby, I want to start a national rowing academy. And rowing isn't known as a sport for black youngsters, but I want to find the black talent in this country. Can you help me? So we sat down, we put together a plan on how we're going to do it. And we went to one of the villages where there was no water, there was nothing. We took an ergo machine, we took a box of paper, we took a stopwatch, and we took a pen. And we basically went there and said to them, here's something to play on. And we asked the guy just to record times for us over a 2-minute period, not times, scores for us over a 2-minute period of the kids playing on the ergo. That was the beginning of the National Rowing Academy.
Wow.
And from there, that National Rowing Academy has grown to gold medals in London at the Olympic Games, silver medals at Rio at the Olympic Games. So that was the beginning of a journey that we walked with South African rowing. And in particular, first of all, with Rod, and then with Roger Barrow, who is the coach. And the most professional coach you have ever come across. If you want to see ultra professionalism, you need to speak to Roger Barrow. He is just the most amazing young man that I've ever come across. So it started there, and we brought the kids in, and genuinely we had to teach the kids, this is a knife and fork. We had to teach them what nyama was, because they had pap and moroch, that was it. We had to teach them vegetables, how good they were for them. We had to teach them, first of all, how to swim. They had no idea what water was all about. The only water they saw came in a tanker. We had to put these kids into a pool. But the amazing thing is, one of the young girls went on to the Youth Olympics and won a gold medal at the Youth Olympics.
In rowing?
Came out of that, yeah, in rowing, yeah.
Amazing.
She came out of that background. And so at the Youth Olympics, you don't actually row for your country, although you have the South African colors. The whole thing is you participate as a group of youth from around the world. And so she was in the 4 that had, and I can't remember which countries, but there may have been a Russian, a US, an Englishman in the boat with her. But she went on to win a gold medal at the Youth Olympics.
Okay, and why is it structured like that? Why is it structured 4 countries in a boat?
So the Youth Olympics is very much around camaraderie, establishing the esprit de corps of what the Olympics is all about.
Before you get the rivalry, it's better to feel the camaraderie.
Exactly right.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. That's interesting. I never knew that. And then also, I'm completely ignorant here, but when you say pap and moroch, what is moroch? Sorry, BT. This podcast is about for me to learn as well.
More often, Daniel.
I live in the city and I just don't know what that is. I've probably eaten it though. Pap and moroch.
Spinach.
Oh, is it spinach? Okay.
Yeah, but it's a thread or a brand of spinach.
I see. You see, I'd rather look ignorant and the listeners learn something than me keep quiet and ask BT afterwards. Okay, cool. So we've covered hockey, cricket, and then we've talked about athletics and swimming at the Performance Institute, and we've talked about rowing. This is amazing stuff, and I think also it also highlights the like South Africa's really 2 countries. There's kids like us from the suburbs, and we have pools, and we learn how to swim when we're 5 or 6. And then there's people that have never actually even swum when they get to the city, and it's crazy. But I think the big issue that every time I do a sports podcast like this, what it highlights for me is opportunity. And I suppose you're a better person to answer this question than me. Like, how do we create more opportunity? Is it just a thing of going out into communities and giving them the right equipment, like you say you did with the rowing? How do we accelerate that change?
Well, I think that there's an obligation on sport and recreation in South Africa, and I'm very critical of them. I really am critical of them. I just don't believe that going to go and drop 300 million rands worth of equipment at schools in December is development. I honestly believe that to go and build facilities where you go to a year later, the facility's being dismantled, that's not development.
Yeah.
Development starts with a federation putting together a long-term athlete development pathway. And that's how we did with rowing. You know, we planned the gold medal that we won in London was 4 years ahead of schedule. We planned to win that gold medal in 2016, not 2012.
Okay.
And that was a genuine plan. But the guys that we had in the boat, Sizwe and John Smith, who's still rowing today, I mean, those guys were just so totally committed that we were able to get the gold. Or if you watch the video, the commentators didn't even give us a chance and called us Australia.
No.
Because they didn't think South Africa stood a chance. And then Australia have won. And then all of a sudden it was, oh, no, it's South Africa.
Because we were wearing gold and green.
Yeah, correct, yeah.
How did we do in 2016, by the way?
So we then, in 2016, we actually got a silver with Lawrence Britton, who 18 months out from the Olympic Games had stage 4 lymphoma.
Wow.
Now, stage 4 lymphoma, the next thing is just to nail the final nail in the coffin. And him and Sean Keeling were a committed pair. And Lawrence came to me and said to me, Pops, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to go from the bottom of that barrel to the highest podium in the world.
Wow.
Well, he won, him and Sean won silver from
That's
being
incredible.
stage 4 lymphoma to a silver medal in Rio. So the High Performance Center per se has won close to 45% of the medals at the last 2 Olympic Games that South Africa has won.
Okay. And sorry, I think I cut you off when you were still talking about sort of the long-term development pathway in youth development. So did you want to finish that? What your philosophy is?
So for me, that is crucial. I mean, the long-term athlete development pathway has to be the basis on which we build our South African sport. You know, and taking phys ed out of schools was the wrong thing to do. The wrong thing. I mean, BT's agreeing with me. You know, you've got to get the kids active.
I didn't even know they took it out. Did they take it out?
Because even us at Pinelands High, we never had.
So, yeah, actually, hold on. I'm trying to think. I thought that they had it in primary school, and then in high school you just play a sport or two. So I'm ignorant again, but I just played when I got to school. I played cricket, water polo, squash, and soccer, and I just stayed. I was first team soccer and squash, so I just got rid of the other ones because I didn't make the first team. I mean, I just wanted to represent the school as best I could, and the sports clashed with each other. And I didn't really like swimming. I'm not a good swimmer, so water polo was out. Yeah, I mean, sorry, Toby, go on.
No, I mean, BT was talking about Pinelands. I mean, there's a good sporting school as well, too. I mean, I had very good relationships with Pinelands when I was living in Cape Town.
Yeah,
I
was there as well.
If you go back to that history, you look at guys like Peter Holloley. I think he was one of the headmasters there. Then David Argyle was there. You know, so those are guys that I know personally through my sport. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, he was the principal when I was in grade 8.
Yeah. So, I mean, those guys have really set that school up as a really good sporting school in the country. And a lot of good youngsters. I mean, Tommy Tolakila's come out of there. His brother, Lungi's come out of there as well, too. I mean, Lungi was a TUKS boy through and through. I mean, he played for us at TUKS. We gave him bursary, stayed with us for a long, long time. He's now working for the Western Cape government. I saw him a little while ago. And he gave me a big hug and said to me, shit, he misses being in Pretoria, but loves his work in Cape Town. And he's a Pinelands boy that you guys can be proud of as well.
What is he? Yeah, no, we are. What does he do for government now? Is he coaching? Is he?
So he's in the coaching side of things, in the development side of things in the Western Cape.
What sport?
Well, it'll be across the board, basically. It would be across the board, but obviously focusing on hockey would be one of them. Yeah. But I mean, you can't have a particular person looking after one sport only because you just don't have the manpower and the money to do it.
But sorry, BT, I see you want to ask something. But Toby, isn't it strange that, because I'm trying to figure out how you say it's difficult for one person to manage one sport, but then isn't that counterintuitive because one person's managing many sports? So how does that work? Because you also said yourself in the beginning of this podcast that you were overseeing all the sports at TUKS. How does that work?
Correct. So I oversee all the sports, but I have people that are better than me. I make sure that I try and employ people that are better than me to run each individual sport. They must be the custodians of that particular sport and make sure that they can deliver me the medals at the highest level. And I'm continuously challenging them to make sure they stay abreast. So when Generation Z came out, we did a whole presentation to all our coaches. Now we're ready on Generation Alpha. I mean, we passed Generation Z. And you ask some people and some coaches, what about Generation Z? And they're saying, sorry, what are you talking about? And that's the important, and that's the important thing, is just make sure you stay ahead and not only abreast of what's happening around the world. And that's something we've been able to do. And if you want to deliver champions, you've got to make sure that you are doing the best that there is out there and the best practices.
Okay.
Okay. When you were talking about now, what I wanted to find out was the recruitment process. When you look at now getting athletes in for the TUKS programs, I want you to know, like, what's the recruitment process that happens from your side? And secondly, what's the pathway that you would like recommend to, say, I'm an athlete in high school, I'm doing grade 11, I'm starting to think now about, tertiary, because a lot of times you find that once students get to like grade 10, grade 11, grade 12, they get to like a split, whereby it's rare to have an opportunity to go pursue sports and pursue your education. I've seen a lot in soccer, especially in soccer. Rugby, cricket, sometimes a lot of times they get it right. But in soccer, you find that guys who are playing in the multi-choice Diski Challenge, under 23s, they have to sacrifice writing matric finals because they have football commitments. And the football clubs don't factor those sort of things in. And the one thing that I like about an environment like TUKS is that as an athlete, you can matriculate and still further develop your craft in sports, as well as your craft in academics. So I wanted to know from your side, what's that recruitment process you guys go through, and as well as what is the pathway you'd recommend an aspiring athlete? What would you recommend to me and Daniel when we were in grade 10?
Let's go younger. Let's go Generation Alpha.
Yeah. But BT, it's actually, you mentioned grade 10, grade 11, round about there. At the Sydney Olympics, they took a survey of at what age did you start focusing on your specific sport? Okay. And 85% of the medalists at the Olympic Games only start focusing on their specific sport at the age of 15, 16.
Sure.
Barring gymnastics, okay? I'm taking gymnastics out because we know that's totally different, okay? So you're asking now exactly the question of you at that stage, you've got to decide what you want to do. And I think that's the crux of the matter. Because if you're going to play a multitude of sports like Daniel, like you did, and I don't know what other sports you played, BT, but in doing so, you are developing all the muscle groups within your body, okay? So which makes it so much easier to start focusing, because your muscle groups are toned and are well, if you're a good athlete or a good sportsman, your muscle groups are up there, okay? And so it's easier then to go and focus on a particular sport, because that's when you start zoning down into what is needed for that particular sport. So when you come to the recruitment, we wouldn't specifically go and say, we would certainly look at results of what's happened, what you've done. So if you're an athlete, for example, it's easy. You've taken part in your school championships, the Western Province championships, the national championships. So that's easy. We can basically see those results, and those results are open to anybody. So we've got a trust called the Athletics Foundation Trust, which has been sponsored by one gentleman, and he's paying for 94 learners in our school at the moment. Now, 94 learners at 140,000 Rand is a lot of money. Because that 140,000 Rand, Daniel, you asked me the question early on, what basically it does. So it covers their school uniform, their school books. It covers their physiotherapy. It covers their massage, their psychology, their nutrition, their strength and conditioning. It just covers the entire spectrum, the coaching, the gym work they've got to do. It covers everything. So we are developing the holistic learner into a top international athlete.
Okay.
If you look at Prudence Segore at the moment now is an ideal example of that. Now, Prudence is running the 800 meters just over 2 minutes and 2 seconds at the moment. I mean, she's still at school. She's the African junior champion, and she's the kind of girl that we went out and found and brought into the school. At the same time, she's focusing on her academics because we don't allow them to go out and train if they haven't done well in their academics as well. So at the TuksSport High School, we have over 250 kids in the school who want to become good sportsmen. But the thing we teach them is the balance between education and their sport. And BT, you've hit the nail on the head. You talk about football. For me, the football hierarchy should be taken to task because they don't enforce that the youngsters learn. And for me, education is key. They need to be educated at a decent level, because all of a sudden you get a check at the end of the month for 40 grand. You've never received money. If you're lucky, you've taken a few Coke bottles in and you've given your Coke bottles in to get some money to buy some whatever it's going to be. Now you're getting 40 grand. No one's taught you what to do with that 40 grand. What life skills have you been taught?
I'll get some Nike Airs, some Pumas.
Gold watch.
That's
Golf
just the start.
GTI.
Golf
Golf
GTI,
GTI.
absolutely.
All that
Well,
kind of stuff is what we
that's
do.
me. I mean, I think I am living like that at the moment. No, so so it's just to go back. I'd like to come back to the 250 at TUKS, but the 94 learners. Does that include Prudence Segore or not?
Yes.
And
Yeah, it does.
how were they sort of selected?
So basically, we went looking for them, and then we also advertised that we were going to. So once we got our first group of athletes in,
And is it athletics? Is it athletics or is it okay? Athletics.
Athletics,
Yeah.
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 So once we got our first group in, and they started to do very well. I mean, Giftly at Taylor was one of those poor, unfortunate guys that ran a sub 10 in Bloemfontein when the timing systems just didn't work.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been recorded officially as a sub 10. Clarence Monyai, for example, is world junior. I mean, those are the kind of guys that we were fortunate enough to bring into the program, which have then got a name out there for the TuksSport High School. And from there, we were able to attract. So as soon as we said bursaries are open or you can apply, and we specifically go to the rural areas and we look for kids that do not have the opportunity that kids from the city, like maybe you and BT have. And we want to bring them into the school to give them an opportunity to develop. And boy, oh boy, are they flying. It's unbelievable to see.
And
on that note of the rural area athletes, there's a boy that I came across a few weeks ago. His name is Silusapo Tingiswayo. He's supposed to be going to America to go study at the Lee University. And he went through the TUKS high school.
Correct.
And the one thing that when we were talking to him, he was telling us about, so he's from a rural area in Eastern Cape called Gala.
Yeah, correct.
And so when he was telling me the story, he was saying that, when he was in primary school and like he had to practice hurdles, they would have to take the discs, like the school discs, and, rip off the part where you write. And then that metal, you just lift to the metal frame. Then that's now your hurdles that you use to practice. And then so that's what he was doing in primary school. And then when it was time to go to high school, and I know Gala, I mean, I've been there a lot of times. And so if he had to grow up in Gala and develop in Gala from 14 until now, I don't think he would be the athlete that he is now, because at TUKS, he won lots of gold medals, and now he's got an opportunity to go study in America. So,
I mean, did he tell you about his world medal that he's got? So he was part of the 400 meter team that won a silver medal at the World Championships.
Yeah. So for me, that's it's very touching when, like I said, I go to Gala in December, and you just see like how much like alcohol and drugs and crime are done by his peers, the same guys who he was growing up with. But he had the opportunity to go to an environment like TUKS.
Well, another one I can throw at you as well too. You mightn't remember the name, or you might just ring a bell somewhere with you. Is is an athlete called Caster Semenya.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. She calls me dad. I've looked after her now for so many years. So when she went through all the hassles with the IAAF, we defended her case the first time around, and we finally settled with the IAAF what the levels of the testosterone had to be. Government then got involved the second time around. We were excluded completely, and now you see where Caster is today.
Yeah.
But can you tell us about her background and like her journey through your system?
Yeah, so one of the deputy directors at TuksSport, his ex-wife worked at Sport and Recreation South Africa, and they came from their village, and they said there's this young girl that runs pretty well, and they brought her into Tuks, and basically it was post-school, she'd finished school, and then she was with us for many, many years, and she trained under Michael Semme to start with, and then, as you know, just went on to become the superstar that she is. But the amazing thing, and I mean, we were chatting nearly 2 days, I think it was about 2 days ago, about her wanting to now give back. She's planted her tree, okay? So she was asking me questions. So, Daddy, how do I go about giving back to other people? What do I need to do? I've got this trust. She started this new athletics club where she's now starting to pay for kids' education. She's paying for their clothing. She's paying for their food and stuff like that. So she's doing exactly what the High Performance Center is doing, but she's doing it in her personal capacity with the money that she has made.
Amazing.
So, I mean, that is amazing woman, an absolutely, truly amazing woman.
Yeah.
And I will, when people started to, chastise her, I was very, very irate, and I was very, very vocal in my defense of her as well, too. Because you've got to learn to know people before you can pass judgment over people.
100%.
And I got to know her inside and outside, and honestly, a truly, truly magnificent young woman.
Yeah, I would definitely agree to that. And so BT, the guy you mentioned just before, is he sort of on the level of Akani Simbine? Is he going to be? Is he 100 or 200? Is he 100 or 200 runner?
So 100, 200, 400.
Is he on Akani level or?
Not yet, because he's not. Look, Akani's run sub 10, 32 times. He's also completed his degree at the University of Pretoria, but he didn't just do an ordinary degree. He did a degree in computer science.
Okay.
So it's not an easy degree to do.
Definitely not.
And the same thing with Akani now. I mean, AK wants to give back, so he's asked, how can he give back to Tuks? What can he do? So he's now, at the moment as we speak, he's now in Gemona in Italy, doing training at the moment now to prepare for the Olympics. Yeah. Because it's obviously too cold here in South Africa. So he was on one of those repatriation flights about 5 weeks ago, I think it was.
Okay, back to Italy.
Overseas. Yeah. But Dambile, as we call him, I mean, he's right up there with them. I mean, he's in that national relay squad, which I honestly believe that relay squad, which they're all training at Tuks at the moment now, is certainly a medal hope for South Africa. If you take the Japanese won a silver at the last Olympics, and they don't have one athlete that ran sub 10. And in the squad that we have at the moment now, the squad is about 7 or 8 big in the 100 meters. I think there are 4 or 5 that are running sub 10s. So why can't we win a medal there? So ASA and Tuks took the decision that we were going to start this academy for relay, and in the 100, the 200, and the 400. And as we know, the 400 last year won that silver. Was it 2 years ago? I'm getting mixed up now. They won the silver medal at the World Championships in the 400 meters, and Dambile was part of that. Still as a schoolboy in the seniors, not in the juniors, in the seniors.
Okay, amazing. Well, I was going to ask you, what happens if you can clearly see that there's a gold medal potential, but the schoolwork is just, they're like me, they're failing at school. What do you do then?
So a perfect example is now during this period where the minister announced that the kids would go home. Our kids came to us and said, please, to our headmistress, Mrs. de Villiers, please, Mrs. de Villiers, we don't want to go home. Because we know that when we're going to go home, there's no food, there's no electricity, and there's no teaching. Can't we please stay here? So we gave the teachers off and the kids then did additional English, basic English, how to read and write, and basic mathematics. As I say, when we get the kids from the rural areas, they can't do those 3 R's, the reading, the writing, and the arithmetic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what they did. So we basically, those kids stayed on. And the school at the moment, TuksSport High School, bearing in mind we brought these kids from the rural areas, is one of only 25 schools in the entire Gauteng that has had 100% matric pass rate in the last 4 years. And this is kids that couldn't read, write, and do arithmetic when they come in. So that's what our school is all about. So it's personal attention. Yeah. If they travel overseas, like if we take the Basetsana football girls, when they played in the World Cup, I think it was in Jamaica, they were out of school for 12 weeks. Now, 12 weeks is 3 months. When they got back, it wasn't the girls' job to catch up. It was our job as the educator to help them catch up the work and to make sure that they passed. And that's what I think teachers today miss.
Right.
Is you as a teacher have an obligation to the child. And our teachers are phenomenal in the sense of they have that obligation. They have the will. They'll work with the kids in the evenings. They'll come in on a Saturday. They'll come in on a Sunday and have a one-on-one with the kids. That's the big difference. And that's what I believe we need more of, those kind of opportunities for the kids, where they're going to be given the chance to perform, but also the chance to achieve in their academics. I mean, one of the girls from the Athletics Foundation Trust, Stoney, she was a sprinter. She's currently a 4th-year medical student at TUKS.
Wow.
So there's exactly what we're talking about. We want to develop the kids so that if they don't have a life in sport, they can have a life in whatever it is, educate them.
Yeah. And you never know when you're going to get injured as well, or if your career gets cut short, or if the competition increases and suddenly you aren't where you thought you might be. But for me, it comes back to the mentality and the mindset. Because, I mean, when I was in school, like I said earlier, I was failing in school, but it was because I just wasn't doing what I wanted to do. The subjects I chose just really aren't what, like today, what I do is I do content creation, but I do SEO, PPC. We build websites. We make websites rank on the search engines. Just giving myself a quick plug on a quick promo on the show. But in school I just really didn't find it. I found geography and history interesting, but the rest I just really hated. Is it because you instill the mindset from sporting which carries through to academics?
Well, I think it's a bit deeper than that. I mean, let's be honest. Kids today are looking for quick fixes.
Yeah.
They're looking for miracles. They want the instant solutions, because that's the way that you've grown up. I mean, you switch a cell phone, you go to Professor Google, and Professor Google says, here's your answer, poof, and it's done.
Yeah.
Okay. They're looking for the wonder diets, the super gym bunny programs are going to make them into the best, that, all those shortcuts. Well, unfortunately, in sport, there are no shortcuts.
Yeah.
And winning is all about your commitment to winning. And I think that's the difference, is once they start understanding that they need that commitment to be able to win. That's the first part of the performance culture that we try and inculcate into them. And I always say, when people say, oh, we're going to Olympic Games to go and take part. Well, I want to go and win. Winning is everything. You don't want to take part in something to become second, third, or fourth. You want to win.
I agree, 100%. I don't believe in participation medals.
No, exactly.
It's a waste of time and a waste of petrol.
Say again, BT?
It's a waste of time and a waste of petrol. Imagine that.
Cool. Yeah. So, that's. I think I've learned a lot today in terms of the long-term development pathway, and we've covered so many sports. It's been quite amazing. BT, do you have any soccer questions? Let's get to the grassroots before we wrap up. BT wants to ask you to give him some coaching tips.
I'll tell you, BT, I'll give you a story. You asked me about Argentina. And I'll
Yeah.
give you some of the amazing stories out of Argentina, if you'd like me to. I mean, I don't mind.
100%. We'd love you to.
Okay, so one of the days, so we prepared 2 fields for them, and we had amongst my executives, it was known as 48. If we were asked anything by the team, within 48 hours, we had to deliver. And obviously, the Argentinians were absolutely scared because they have followers that go around the world that are there just to try and hurt the players, believe it or believe it not. They're not fans, they're fanatics that actually are out there to try and upset everything the team is trying to do.
Oh, no.
So we at the High Performance Center totally closed off the entire area with security. We had over 40 police on duty 24 hours a day. The fields we practiced on had special security around them, everything like that. So when they walked from the High Performance Center to the fields, which was maybe about 600 meters, we would follow them, security would follow them. But I remember it was about 4 days out from the beginning of the World Cup. And we went to one of the practice, and bearing in mind that Argentina didn't only come on their own, they brought their junior national team as well too. So they were here to help prepare them because they didn't want, so we offered the TUKS team to play against them and they said no. So they brought their junior national team.
Was it just for prepare? They were just there for preparation. Is it the under 23s?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
That's correct. So at this
particular of the TUKS team, that's why they don't want to.
Correct. So what was amazing was that at this one particular practice, we were standing there, and there was this one under 23 that was going in, and he was scything Messi down at any opportunity he could get. And when I say scything him down, I mean it was a double red every single time.
Sure.
And Maradona let it go. Maradona didn't do a thing about it. And nor did the assistant coaches. And this guy went on and on until eventually Messi stood up and he punched him. But a solid punch. Okay. The guy that he punched was then the captain of the national under-23 side. His name was Marcus Rojo.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, is that why he became so good? Because he was touched by Lionel Messi.
Yeah. So then what was interesting, though, is that I then walked back because they couldn't walk back on their own. So I walked back with the team manager, the psychologist, and Messi. I walked back, and the psychologist dropped back a little bit behind me because I asked him, I said, so what's going on here? And he said to us that Messi, as far as they were concerned, was not into the World Cup. He was just taking it far too easy. And they wanted to get him prepared. So they got Marcus Rojo to go out there and to get him going. They spent hours with him from a psychological perspective after that practice. And the next practice session, you saw a totally different person altogether. It was amazing.
See, now that is that's amazing. And then just to end that story of Marcus Rojo, still so dirty to this day, and joined Man United.
Makes sense.
It all makes sense. But yeah, BT, have you got any other footy questions?
So I wanted to know, so you're saying the TUKS High, a lot of students stayed behind. And are they still working now?
Yes. Yeah, they're still there now at the moment now. So what we also had is we had 13 positive cases of COVID in the school. But what we did, we're lucky, we have the High Performance Center. So we took one of the blocks out completely, out of commission. And for the University of Pretoria, that particular block is the isolation ward for the university.
Wow.
Okay.
So the minute a kid started to show any symptoms, they were transferred in there. So we were lucky that that those transmissions didn't carry on to any other kids. And those kids were, as they came back, so when they came back, we see that they have an elevated temperature. Then we'd ask them questions. You've got a dry cough, you've got a headache, you runny nose, etc., etc. And straight away put them into isolation.
Yeah. And
touch wood.
Yeah.
That helped and worked, and since then it's been absolutely perfect.
So wasn't a lot of testing during the pandemic. It was just going by symptoms and isolating for 2 weeks.
Correct, yeah. So we did,
Okay.
obviously, once the kids did show serious symptoms, we sent them for testing to see whether they were positive or negative.
Okay.
But then when the pandemic got bigger, as you know, they weren't going to test any youngsters. You just had to isolate them because they said they were sufficiently strong enough to overcome.
Yeah.
Because they were taking spots away from the elderly and the comorbidity people. So what we did, as soon as anybody showed any symptoms, we moved them into isolation immediately. And then we would do all the protocols. We employed a nurse who had the full PPC on. Their rooms were basically, once they'd moved out of the room, we took the air conditioners apart. We sanitized the entire air conditioner, cleaned it, sprayed it. The rooms were clean, sprayed, fogged, everything like that for the next possible person that came in.
Yeah.
And the same with TUKS. We had 2 cases prior when they came into the bubble prior to the season starting. We had 2 positive cases, so they went into isolation immediately. And having that facility certainly helped in what we're trying to do.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So from TUKS, is there any what should we be really excited about in terms of our next medal? I'm talking South Africa. I'm talking any sport.
Yeah, I think that the biggest excitement for me is something, again, a planned approach.
Yeah.
Is Rocco Mayron, who's our swimming coach, came to me and said to me that there is not really a future for women swimmers since Penny Haynes. Nothing's happened since Penny Haynes. What are we going to do about it? So I said, well, why don't we focus on getting females into the TuksSport high school, young girls, take them through the high school, into the university, through the university, and deliver them on the highest podium. Well, as you know, Tatiana Schoenmaker won 2 gold medals at the last Commonwealth Games. She's currently ranked number 2 in the world. So Tatiana's been one of those that has been through the entire program.
Yes, I know her. Okay.
Yes. Okay, so Tatiana's at TUKS, and she's been through the TuksSport High School, and she's now basically preparing for the Olympics. And that's a challenge we had. So during lockdown, you can imagine you've got swimmers who spend 6 hours a day in a swimming pool not being able to access water.
Wow.
Now, when you're in water, your muscles are handled a lot differently to when you're on dry land. So they were only doing dry land training. So when they came back, our initial plan was to say, right, fine, let's do a complete analysis of them, their musculoskeletal body structure, to see if anything had got wrong, put them on a rehabilitation program and get them back up to speed as quickly as possible. Because fitness-wise, they were there. But obviously, injury-wise, they could be more prone if we didn't address those very, very quickly. And we did. I mean, and Rocco and I spoke on Saturday, and he said he just had one of the most amazing training sessions with his squad. You know, Kayleen Corbett's another one. Kayleen is ranked number 7 in the world in the same event as Tatiana. Now, Kayleen's also come through. She's at TUKS. She's studying at TUKS at the moment. She's from Port Elizabeth. So she's also a possibility, but she got injured during the period for dry land training. So we've had to work a little bit harder on her, where Tatiana was at least lucky she didn't get injured.
Okay. Is that crawl or backstroke?
No, breaststroke.
Breaststroke. Okay.
Yeah. So
backstroke, yeah.
Yeah, so Tatiana won gold in 100 and 200 meter.
Okay. I remember Schoenmaker, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we've got a young lady that has the mental fortitude and I call her Mighty Mouse, Jerene Whiteboy, and she's judoka. And she's currently ranked right up the top in Africa. But obviously now she's being disadvantaged because there's no contact sport allowed. So all we're doing with her at the moment now is a lot of gym work, a lot of carters, all that kind of stuff that she can do in the meantime, but there's no physical training. So we've made application now to allow her to go offshore, to go and train overseas with an international squad overseas where she can get some contact, because it's important that she gets that contact training.
Absolutely, especially in judo. Is she, how old is she?
Jerene has just completed her honors in internal auditing. So she would be 23, yeah. 23,
okay, so I assume, so she's got a black belt. Is she a first dan, second dan black belt?
Well, judo don't basically have the dans. but she's right up there at the top of her level.
Showing my ignorance again, my bad. I know I'm a white belt jiu-jitsu now. The gyms have just started to open again, so I've supposed to do jiu-jitsu this morning. I just injured my neck as I woke up. I was literally getting ready for that. Yeah, so that's, I mean, and I do have another podcast where we talk about mixed martial arts. So that's just, I hope the guys don't see that I don't know. So judo just has a black belt. It's not like karate or jiu-jitsu with the first dan.
It's basically, you just operate on the highest level, basically.
Okay.
You can operate on. Yeah. There was a second young lady, but she just said that she's given up now. She just said she can't extend. You know, she was seeing the Olympic Games this year as the pinnacle of her career. And she was going to get married and all that kind of stuff. Unel Snyman. So she basically has given up, unfortunately.
Okay. I'm sure Ronda Rousey's a role model for her. Ronda Rousey's a very high level judoka.
Yeah.
Cool. BT, anything else from you? I mean, I'm probably going to wrap up. BT just wants soccer tips. BT just wants you to give him tips.
I think for now, because one thing I want to do actually is to do like more follow-ups on the athletes, especially.
Yeah.
You know, maybe have the athletes come on and just to catch up with them. So I think we can wrap it for today, but going forward, we'd like to interact more with the athletes, with the institution itself. Maybe even I can go pay a visit there and take some, pictures and just to monitor. And that information will also be key because I'm thinking about pilots, highest athletes as well. Because one thing I was thinking of, like when we were in high school, we knew about TUKS, but we weren't like, it wasn't, if we knew what we knew now, I think we'd be able to make better informed decisions. We would have stayed in sports, Daniel would have stayed in sports.
Yeah.
So I think like the interaction between us and TUKS is very key for back in our community there in Pinelands, and as well here in Joburg with the boys I started to work with here in the north side of Joburg. So I mean they're also keen athletes, and one thing that always comes across from the parents especially is that once it gets to that age of 16, they quit sports. Because there's no avenue where you can actually pursue education and sports together. And
we have
as a soccer coach myself, and having seen all of these times where soccer players actually go down because of a lack of focusing on the education, I want to promote more of institutions like TUKS.
Yeah, and BT's also an agent, hey? BT's also an agent. He'll get you
we'll get you nice gold medalists.
Yeah, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old little Lionel Messi's.
Yeah. But I think there's one or two little messages that I'd like to, if I can, and you can include in the podcast and cut and use it how you want to.
Of course, go for it.
But there's a South African guy called Steve Carver. You can go and have a look at and read about him. He's an amazing guy. He's written some amazing books, Steve Carver. And we used this for the rowing squad when we won the gold medal, is that point number one, if you want to be really world class, point number one, ruthless simplicity. When it comes to communication, the way we approach from a coaching perspective, your plans, your implementation, it's ruthless. There's no mamby-pamby kind of stuff, okay? It has to be ruthless. The second thing is the deadline never changes. Never compromise your target or your end goal. Rather find the solutions to the obstacles that are facing you when you try and reach those deadlines. The next point number 3, is good enough isn't anymore.
You got to be the best.
Because world records are being broken today, so it means that good enough today isn't good enough anymore. Okay? The enemy doesn't wait until you are ready. It's tough out there. You've got to go out there and show your kahunas to make sure that they understand. Okay? The perils of performance loafing. Now, BT, being a coach yourself, you know you'll be coaching maybe forwards on a particular move. You'll see one of the defenders sitting backwards. Now he's loafing. Now that you can't have that, okay? Because as your team grows in size, each player's contribution needs to grow in the way they perform as well too, if you want to become good, okay? And then the pursuit is just as important as the result. Okay, so how are you going there? And that was brought home to me when I was in Colorado Springs at the Olympic Training Center there. And when I walked in, the first thing that hit me was that there was this massive sign. And I walked into the gym. That same sign was there. I walked into the dining hall. It was there. I walked into their bedrooms. It was there. And what it said, it's not every 4 years. It's every day.
Yeah.
And how you perform every day is going to reflect on you, on how you can perform at the Olympic Games. And far too often we have there's two words that I try and inculcate into the guys as well too. They come back and they say, sir, if only I had done X, Y, Z, if only I hadn't missed that session, that gym session. And I'm saying, no. Let's just take those two little words around from if only and change it to only if, and then see the difference. Yeah. And that's as easy as what it is about high performance sport. Take that only if to if only, and you've got to turn the two around, that you can make sure that it's only if you do it, not if.
Yeah. I agree 100%. Wise words. Thank you, Toby. And we'd love to have you back sometime. I mean, there's still a couple of things that we want to know about, like the musculoskeletal training would be good to talk about, and just to see the progress on the athletes coming up. We'd love to have you back sometime.
With pleasure.
Appreciate your time. I really appreciate your time, and thank you so much.
No, it's a pleasure. Nice meeting you guys as well too. And you can tell Hernan that hopefully we stopped recording. You can tell Hernan that I was an arsehole on your program.
Brilliant. Thank you, Toby. Appreciate it.
Okay, guys. Stay well. Look after yourselves, eh?
You too.
All right.
All the best. Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay. Bye.